Hello, my friends. Very quick answer today to the question asked. It looks like lots of our applicants, those who are sending me emails, still do not understand what the validity of temporary resident visa means, how long you could stay in Canada under the temporary resident status, what you could do and cannot do in Canada if you come under the temporary resident visa. So starting from the beginning, if you were lucky enough to secure yourself a temporary resident visa to Canada, you got that sticker in your passport which says an expiry date or validity date. That date does not mean anything with respect to the terms of your stay. Okay, the date simply tells you when, until which date you could actually come to Canada and present yourself to the border officer. Nothing more than that. So say if validity of your temporary resident visa is September 2018, it does not mean that you could stay till September. Okay? It simply means that you have to show up at the border and present yourself to the officer and ask for permission to enter to Canada. If your validity expires tomorrow, you have time till tomorrow to come to Canada and again present yourself to the eyes of the visa officer. That expiration date, say if it's tomorrow, it does not mean that you would be given 1 day of stay in Canada. No, not at all. That's again just a day of when you can come to the border and speak to an officer. The border officer is the person who will ultimately decide whether to admit you to Canada or find yourself inadmissible. If you're found admissible, welcome here. If not, unfortunately, probably you would be removed from Canada, or there would be a much more difficult procedure of appealing the decision before the judge, so probably you do not want to do that. Now, with respect to admittance, you have two options. Option number one, that's the most common one, the officer will stamp your passport without any additional notes in it, which means that from the date of the stamp, you have 6 months of staying in Canada. If there is a handwritten note, usually that's the expiry date, that's the date when you have to leave Canada. Usually that date is not put in there. Typically, if everything was fine at the border, you answered all of the questions, the officer was satisfied with those answers, you are given 6 months. And during these 6 months, you're allowed to engage in several activities such as studying very short-term courses. You're not allowed to study at a university or a college for, say, 1-2 years programs. You're allowed to study at short-term courses, so say language courses, you could go to English school, French school. You probably could engage yourself in activities such as looking for a job. You're not allowed to work, but you might potentially look for an employer. Nobody would punish you for that. You are allowed to open business in Canada. You're not allowed to work in that business, but you can open a corporation, incorporate your business. You could open limited liability partnership company, depending on circumstances, and you could afterwards transform your status if you're looking to do that. So if you want to transform your status to work permit, to study permit, if you want to open your business and then work out towards immigration, mostly welcome to discuss this scenario and this case. If you want to extend your status in Canada just as a temporary resident visitor or a temporary resident application to be extended in Canada, why not? That's also permissible, provided that you got reasons for that. But again, you do not have to leave Canada for that. You are allowed to do it staying here. You could lodge your application without leaving the country. It is quite possible. So if after 6 months you have a valid reason of staying, if you want to stay longer, mostly welcome. We will be able to help you out with that. Apart from it, I guess it answers the question. Stay tuned with us. As always, answers or questions are allowed at the bottom of the video. Discussions, comments, I'm usually able to read them and address them where it's possible. And of course, our contacts are at the end of the video. Stay tuned and subscribe.